Hello, everyone. You're listening to Baby Steps, sponsored by Oxford and Soho Baby, a podcast dedicated to exploring the personal and emotional journeys of parenting. I'm your host. My name is Medea. Today I have Priyanka, life and parent coach, physician, and mother of a 6-year-old. Priyanka, welcome to the show.
Awesome. So grateful to be here.
Yeah, I'm so excited. So let's get right into it. What's the biggest misconception parents have about good parenting?
I think a lot of times parents spend a lot of time thinking they need to fix their kid, discipline their kid, and teach them the right way to do things. But it can be actually as simple as doing our own work, which then shifts everything in the family, the dynamics shift, and things fall into place a lot easier if we would just spend the time instead of fixing them, working on ourselves. I don't like the word fixing either, but just working on ourselves can lead to a different dynamic in the family. And that's all sometimes we need. And people don't realize that. They put
True, yeah.
themselves last.
Yeah, if you're in a good headspace, good mental health, then you're able to parent your child better rather than just focusing on them and trying to, yeah, fix them when you haven't
Exactly.
even worked on yourself.
Exactly. And sometimes subconsciously, unconsciously, we land up behaving in a certain way in the moment that is counterproductive and will lead to the behavior in our kids that we don't wish to see. And we don't even recognize that. But if we do that work on ourselves, if we show up from a different place, that behavior that we're trying to prevent will most likely be gone and not have, we won't have to worry about trying to figure out how to get rid of it anymore.
Yeah, what's an example of doing work on yourself?
Yeah, so I'll give you a direct example for me. I hired my own parent coach when my son was 3, and it completely shifted the dynamics at home. 3 is when you have all those meltdowns and tantrums, and I definitely was at a loss of what to do when I was with my kid at that age. We didn't get any parenting books. I think I got my first Instagram account just so I can follow all those people talking about babies' feelings and tantrums and meltdowns and help me guide me on how to behave and what to do so I can help them deal with them. When I finally hired my own parent coach who helped me do the work on myself, I landed up not having to think of or worry about tools because those tantrums actually reduced. It was because I did my own work. So here's a direct example. It's my kids, it's late at night. My kid needs to go to bed, but I've got laundry and dishes and all the stuff I'm trying to get done before I put him to bed. So I'm at the sink washing the dishes. He's, I think, 3 at that time, got his fire engine out, making loud noises, going around the room, EU, EU. And I'm in this headspace of, okay, I need to get him to bed, but I still have to do the dishes. If I don't go up with him right now, he's not going to sleep well. Tomorrow's going to be a mess. And I'm sitting in my rumination around that. And then I say to him, come on, go put your toy away. We got to go up. Of course, he doesn't listen. He doesn't hear me. He's in his own zone. I'm still at the sink. I haven't even gotten to his level. And I say it a few times and I get more and more frustrated. My tone changes as I say it, and there's no response from him. A few minutes later, he comes back and says, Mommy, look, what do you think of my fire engine? And I ignore him. And I just am like so pissed off, going, well, you're going to get a taste for your own medicine because you ignored me before. Blah, blah. And he doesn't get it. He's like, why isn't mommy responding to me? So I went back to that situation with my own parent coach. And she pointed out to me that what I was going through in that moment was the sense of being disrespected growing up, the sense of not being heard growing up. Because when I was telling my kid, go put your toy away, we need to go upstairs, I wasn't coming from a grounded space of being the mom for the kid. I was coming from a scarcity place of my own kid, my own childhood, my inner child being ignored. And that experience was leading me to go back to that situation of being ignored, of being disrespected, of not mattering, of not being valued. And that was affecting how I was showing up in that situation. And it's such a simple thing. You wouldn't think of it, but subconsciously or unconsciously, it affects the way we show up. It affects our tone. And as soon as I did the work on recognizing, oh, that was my 8-year-old self who wasn't picked in the team we were playing for sports, or who was ignored, or whatever that situation might have been. And when we parent that inner child, give them the love and validation that they didn't get then, we then allow that situation that we allow that inner child to no longer come forward in this situation where now we're not the inner child, we're the parent. But we can't parent if we haven't parented our own inner child.
Wow, that's a really good point. Yeah, I think our inner child issues show up all the time throughout life. When you're
Yes.
talking to your friend, your child, your parent even, those
Mhm.
issues come up, and if you don't deal with them, they will always hinder your experiences.
Yeah. Yeah. If you grew up uh, in a family or in a situation where loud noises were jarring or were too much or considered too much, or angry voices were something you were scared of growing up, when your kid who might be still young has tantrums or meltdowns or is angry or is even just loud and excited and happy, it can be uncomfortable for our inner child to be in those situations. And it affects how we show up as a parent then. Because our inner child is triggered and we didn't even recognize it till we do that inner work on ourselves.
Yeah, triggers, that's what's
Mhm.
important. You don't know what's going to trigger you, but when it happens, you know it's happening.
Sometimes people do, sometimes don't. That's the other part of it, right?
Mm,
There is a tool that I try to help people go through, and the biggest piece of that is awareness. Because sometimes we don't recognize that we're triggered. We just react. And if we go from a place of reaction, we're missing that pause, which will show us, oh, I was triggered here. Oh, that's why I said what I said, because we sometimes realize that after the fact. The goal is to work on ourselves, to do the practice, to reflect on situations where we might have reacted. So then in the future, we are actually aware and able to pick up that we're triggered before we react so that we can then hopefully respond.
yeah, I guess I didn't think about it like that. You're not going to be fully aware in the moment all the time,
Yeah.
especially when a trigger happens so fast. You're not fully aware. Yeah, that's a good point. What
And it
are
could be an
some,
internal too. It could be such a simple internal trigger. We may not even have reacted outwardly, like, been in full fight or flight or reacted outwardly, but it's still leading to some kind of fear or anxiety starting in internally, which can then affect how we respond or how we answer.
true. What are some techniques to be more aware?
So I think one of the quickest ways to start implementing this and to start getting aware is this idea of practice. I love bringing up the fact that we have this amazing brain and nervous system that can still continue to learn. You can actually teach an old dog new tricks. You can actually change your brain chemistry. You can actually do the work and start a new neural pathway that will take you down a new path. So the way to practice, I don't like the word practice makes perfect. I like practice. What's the word I say? Practice makes, wow, I just blanked.
Progress? Is it progress?
No, practice. Wow. Should have had my worksheet open. It's not practice makes perfect. Practice makes permanent.
Okay.
Because if we find a new pathway that we then work on and practice, then that will become our new default. But if we don't practice it, it's not going to happen. And that way of practice can be by reflection. So I have this beautiful worksheet that I usually share with anyone that I share my PAUSE acronym with. A stands for awareness in that. But the more we spend time reflecting on a past situation, like for example, the one where I ignored my kid and it affected how we were showing up then while I was washing dishes and trying to get him to bed. As we reflect on that, we are now recognizing, oh, I was showing up from a triggered space. So now, as we practice that awareness, even though it's after the fact, it will start those new neural pathways that will allow us to show up differently next time.
Yes, okay. So reflection helps you be more aware of something that happened in the past. And then once you're aware, you can change what you do next time.
Correct. And reflecting and doing the work on not just getting aware, but then understanding. So there's a whole acronym that I use where you in the PAUSE stands for understanding. So if we now understand, oh, I was showing up from a place of this 8-year-old girl who was ignored, who was not valued. Oh, now I understand why that's happening. And then as we then reflect, understand, go through that worksheet, we are now able to show up differently next time without just jumping straight into the trigger state and reacting.
Yeah. Do you think a lot of people spend time reflecting, or is this not something that a lot of people do?
I think in this fast-paced world that we live in, a lot of times we just want a quick fix. We just want one quick answer or five good things that we could do to fix our kids' behavior or stop the tantrums or discipline our kids. And here, my message is it would be so much more of a long-term investment if we just did the work on ourselves, the self-reflection through journaling, the self-reflection through therapy, through coaching, allows us to then shift everything. And even if it's a small shift, a 1 degree shift over time can lead to a completely new trajectory for the whole family and can be such an important foundational step that could take the whole family in a different direction and lead to a ripple effect for their kids too.
Yeah, more people need to understand that. But you're right, it's such a quick-paced society, and with social media, we're just seeing, oh, five, you're right, like five quick ways to get your kids to listen to you. But that stuff doesn't actually work, I don't think. I mean, it
Oh,
might, but
I was one of those people, as I said. I downloaded all those accounts and all those worksheets, and I tried to memorize them. And in the moment, you can't implement them when you're coming from a place of being triggered. So it doesn't even matter if you have all the knowledge. It all flies out of the window when we are in our fight or flight or freeze zone and we can't show up the way we want to. So if we would just come from a grounded space because we've done our own work, we are already connected with ourselves. And that connection allows us to have a stronger connection with our kids and truly know what they need, not from an external source, not from the books we've read, but we would know because we know our kids the best. And we would know what to do next if we could just be connected with ourselves.
and trust your intuition.
Correct. Yes.
Hmm. You mentioned parenting your inner child. What are examples of this?
I think if we were to go back to that same situation where my 7 or 8-year-old inner child felt invalidated, felt alone, isolated, I would have a conversation with that little girl, maybe sit down next to that little girl and check in with her and validate her and say, hey, you do matter. And hey, that did suck. I'm sorry that you had to go through that. And I want you to know you're not alone. I'm here with you. Imagine if we had heard those words for ourselves in that moment from a grown up, from a safe figure. And we can yet still say that to our inner child, be there for them during the session with a therapist or a coach, help parent that inner kid in that moment. And then for future, there's a twofold step that I usually ask parents to do, which is check in with your inner child often, not just when you're triggered, but in the moment and, add it into your daily habits. Every morning, you're going to be brushing your teeth, looking at the mirror. Check in with your inner child then. Or every night, you go to bed and right before you close your eyes, maybe just check in with your inner child or right after you close your eyes. So giving this inner child moments of check-in can allow this inner child to feel safe, to feel not isolated, to feel loved and cared for and valued. And that can allow us then to show up differently in the moments that we do get triggered.
Yeah, positive self-talk is so important. Just throughout your day, you can't control how other people will treat you, but you can control how you treat you.
Yeah. But as you build this relationship with your inner child and parent them by being there for them, by loving them, by sharing, you know, your awareness that you understand how hard it was for them. In the moment when this inner child is getting triggered, now that you've already built the relationship and gotten to know this kid, the kid will feel safer around you when there is a triggered moment. And you can then show up as the parent saying, hey, I got this. You are not alone in this moment, which can then allow this inner child to step back, to give you the space to show up for your own kid.
Yeah, creating a safe space for your inner child creates a safe space for your actual child too.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. What is the biggest issue that parents come to you with?
I think they first lean towards, I don't know what to do when my kid behaves a certain way. So they want quick answers on what should I do? And then what ends up being an aha moment for them is recognizing what I did didn't work, not because I haven't read the books or I don't know what to do. It's because of the way I showed up. And that's what I love working with parents about. They come with a problem of, I want to know what to do when my kid has some issues. I want to know what to do when I'm yelling at my kids. I want to know what to do when they're having a fight or they're not really, or even if they are younger kids, they're having a meltdown or they're not responding to me or they have a hard time with transitions. And when they come with those little things, though, when we work together, because I have a program that I go walk them through for a good 3 months, they land up leaving, realizing they have fixed way more than that one thing they might have come to see me for. The way it works, though, is the investment in the time and in the healing and staying in the discomfort of working on ourselves.
Yeah, so it always goes back to working on yourself.
Yeah,
That's where it
yeah.
all starts.
I practice conscious parenting, which is this idea that you consciously show up, and you can only do that if you've done your own internal work.
Final question. What advice would you give to parents listening right now?
A lot of times we prioritize our families, others, people who depend on us, and that makes us deplete our own resources, and that makes us show up in a different way for them. Instead, if we could show up first for ourselves, do this inner work, invest in a therapist or a parent coach or counseling or whatever we need to show up better for ourselves and stay connected with ourselves, it allows us to show up differently for our families. And that alone will change the dynamics from the state of being in survival mode and just going through the motions and just putting out fires as they come up to a place of thriving and having your family thrive because that leads to a ripple effect in the family. And they can then thrive and show up differently for others around them too. That is how amazing and important it could be if we just looked towards ourselves first. And isn't that funny? Prioritizing ourselves is the last thing a lot of moms do. And if we actually did that work on ourselves, it will, in a way, help our families more. So don't shy away from doing that internal work or putting down investment of time and money on yourself first.
That's beautiful and so true. That's all we have for today. Listeners, thank you so much for tuning in. Priyanka, thank you for coming on. You've been listening to Baby Steps, sponsored by Oxford and Soho Baby. Have a great rest of your day, everyone.
Hey there, parents. We'll get right back to the episode, but before we do, are you looking for the perfect blend of style, safety, and comfort for your little one's nursery? Look no further than Soho and Oxford Baby. With beautifully crafted cribs, dressers, gliders, and more, their furniture is designed to grow with your child, all while keeping your home looking absolutely stunning. At Soho and Oxford Baby, they believe in combining quality craftsmanship with modern design. And the best part? Their products meet the highest safety standards, giving you peace of mind as your baby sleeps soundly. So, if you're ready to create the nursery of your dreams, check out Soho and Oxford Baby today, because your baby deserves the best. All links will be in the show notes. Now, let's get back to the episode.